Now we are here. Y'all, we got to talk about Jonathan Majors. Um, in case you did not know, Jonathan Majors has been going through some issues. Some issues. Um, the actor has been on a very, very quick rise to stardom. I would say that a lot of that started with Lovecraft Country. But as I mentioned before, Last Black Man in San Francisco, I saw that movie and I was like, I I think this dude can act. Like this dude is pretty good. Saw him in The Five Bloods with Spike Lee on Netflix. I was like, okay, not the biggest role, but he was cool. Okay. And then movie after movie, and then Lovecraft came out, and I was like, yo, my man can act. Like, okay, Jonathan Majors is gonna be the thing. And then he came out as Kang the Conqueror, and y'all already know I've kicked up the Kang gang. We was Kangs, like yo, we was in there, okay, because this was the thing. And I saw the potential in this man, and it was everything. And then the moment my man got on Ant-Man, and the moment he got on Creed 3, he blew up. He blew up. His stardom blew up. We saw him on magazines everywhere. He was getting signed deals. He was on the rise at that point. And well deserved, right? Like he really had to deserve to be on that rise given like his talent and what he put out. So with that said, Jonathan Majors was probably at the peak of stardom at that point. He was the guy that like the hottest name in Hollywood. But unfortunately, he ran into some drama. This happened back in, it was a couple weeks ago. I want to say in March. I want to say March 25th, something like that. And the internet melted. I remember that, like, I think it was like on a Saturday night or something, that some article, TMZ or whoever was like, yo, Jonathan Majors has gotten involved with a domestic violence situation, and everybody lost their mind. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, he's an abuser, lock him up. Other people was like, yo, it's a black man getting railroaded, like defend him. And there's been a lot of back and forth going on, right? And I've done my best to at least report on the situation. I've been very honest about it as someone who is a fan of his, as of his work, as someone who has championed him. I've met him in the 5 minutes I met him. He was an awesome, person. Like I didn't see no Ike Turner in him. You know what I'm saying? But I've been very honest in saying that like hearing the news was disappointing. Not because I don't think he did it. I don't think he did it or not did it. That's not the point. I was just disappointed that he was in the news for something bad. That sucks, right? You were on the high, everybody was loving you, and then now you got some drama. And just to kind of give y'all a little context with that, you also have different layers and components to this because one, domestic violence is terrible no matter what. And domestic violence situations are usually more complex than the average person knows and recognizes. It's not just, oh, he hit them or she hit him and blah, blah, blah. No, sometimes there are different layers, to these things. And there are a lot of twists and turns. So I'm not going to rehash everything that happened with Jonathan Majors before. I'm kind of giving y'all a little setup now. But in case you are interested, I do have a video where I give you a full breakdown of what happened, the text messages that were released, what was going on with Marvel. So all you have to do is go to my channel and you can go check this out. And it's going to tell you everything and get you caught up to this point. Okay. It's going to get you caught up. It's going to give you all the perspectives and all of that. So, just to kind of give a brief summation, he was accused by a woman for attacking him or attacking her. And the bruises or the wounds or whatever she had, she went to the police and fast forward all of the things that he said, she said, the police have filed charges. I'm sorry, the DA, the district attorney. Now, just to clear something up for people, the district attorney can file charges regardless of what the alleged victim says. It doesn't matter. Okay, so I want people to understand that. And let me kind of give you an example, because people are saying, but wait, the woman in the situation recanted her statement. She said it's all good. I'm nothing, right? That doesn't matter. Let me give you an example. If you have a child that shows up at school with bruises coming from home, it doesn't matter if the child says, no, I'm fine. It wasn't my parents. Guess what's going to happen? Child Protective Services are still going to go over to that house and do an investigation. And if they find anything even worse, they're going to press charges and take the kid away. In a similar way, if a person says they're involved in an altercation and they go to the police, and guess what? If the police see bruises, nicks, and all these wounds or whatever, it doesn't matter what the person says at that point. Because when they have that evidence, they're going to say, we have enough to basically put this on, to file charges. So that's the situation that Jonathan Majors is currently in. Right now, the DA, the district attorney of Manhattan, I believe, has seen enough evidence to say, nope, charges. Yes, he was arrested. He was also, released, but he has a court date. I believe the court date currently is May 8th. Right now, in the midst of all this, his lawyers have come out and be like, yo, we got text messages, we got witnesses, we got video. He ain't do nothing. Okay. Now we've seen the text messages. And just to kind of give you, I'm not going to go over the whole text message, but the text messages were not as good as they'd hoped. Because unfortunately, right now, Jonathan Majors has to go through two different courts. He's got to go through the legal court and also the court of public opinion. And right now, the text messages that were his evidence were not good enough to sway the majority of people's opinions. Because unfortunately, the way the text message read off, and by the way, go back to my video and I would go through the whole text message. It sounded like a textbook abused victim. And I was just saying this before, again, I don't have a real opinion on whether he's guilty or not because I need more information. But based off of the text messages, the most disturbing thing and the most problematic thing is that she still acknowledged that she had wounds and or injuries. That's why it's still not a good look. Because even if nothing happened, you still have to figure out, where did the injuries come from? Injuries just don't manifest, right? So that's why people, when they say those texts didn't help, that's why, right? And not to mention, a lot of victims in domestic violence, they recant their statements anyway out of fear of their potential abusers. That happens. So again, I'm not saying Jonathan Majors did anything. I'm not saying he didn't. I'm just saying these are the things we know in cases like this. Since that point, a lot of people have been talking about, is Jonathan Majors going to be recast as Kang, whatever. So far, the news that we got was that Marvel had meetings, but nothing has moved forward. Okay, cool. We had heard about Jonathan Majors being dropped by the army. They had some ad that they used him in. They stepped back. Basically, they're trying to do some wait and see type of stuff. I also kind of understand that. I get it. Was there anything else? There was a lot to this story. I apologize. So he had that. But now, fast forward now, we still don't have any video or anything, at least not to the public. But things were starting to get worse for Jonathan Majors in terms of the optics. And one of the things that happened not a couple days ago was that Jonathan Majors and his manager and the PR firm that was working with him basically parted ways. And they left him. Talent manager Entertainment 360 has dropped Jonathan Majors, several sources tell Deadline. Majors' representation problems don't stop with just his management. The PR firm, the leading company, also initiated a break with Avengers actor in the last month. Majors and fashion house Valentino mutually agreed that the actor would not be attending this year's Met Gala as one of its guests. And Deadline did confirm that, you know what, there have been no conversations in the Marvel camp to drop him from the MCU. So far, he's fine in Marvel. He is also expected to appear before a judge May 8th as he faces multiple counts of harassment and assault from the New York City DA. Now, again, this did not help. You know, getting dropped by your management and getting dropped by your PR company is not a good look. And I'll tell you why. We have not gotten to the court case yet. The judge, none of that has happened yet. However, your manager and the PR folks, they have one job. Their job is to basically make sure you look good. Their job is to make sure that you remain a viable client. Their job is to make sure that, you know, they protect everything around you. So when we found out that Jonathan Majors got dropped by the PR firm and by his manager, this was not like a mutual thing, like, oh, okay, let's just part ways. That's not how it was reported. That's not what it was said. It said that they dropped him, which means maybe a couple things, which is they probably know more to this story than we do. Maybe they seen something. Maybe they know something. Maybe they heard something. Whatever it is, they said this top talent, this person that's been in high demand, whatever it is, even with evidence, whatever testimony, whatever other stuff, we gonna take this money maker. We don't want him. We want to step away from that. This is, again, it doesn't matter whether he's been innocent or guilty before court, because we haven't even gotten there yet. They've parted ways and they didn't even wait until the aftermath, right? In the middle of the heat, they was like, we're good. And again, that is just not a good look. I don't think it's an indictment of guilt, but it's not a good look, because I told y'all he's fighting two different courts, court in the legal sense and court in public opinion. Just think of it on a social level. If you start seeing people distance themselves from somebody, you like, ooh, no, something's wrong with that. Something's wrong with that person. Leper, right? So again, that's not a good look. That his management, the people that are supposed to be, like whenever they talk about actors and be like their team, that's the team. The manager and the PR company, that is the team. His team left him. If your team ain't got your back, again, that's not a good look. Now, he did mutually agree to part with the Met Gala thing. I totally get that. However, this is not where it ends, right? Like, yeah, okay, you didn't get your team left you, but now what does that mean for your movies? What does that mean for all the other ads and stuff that you're doing? Unfortunately, when it rains, it pours. There's a domino effect. Because Hollywood's wariness of Jonathan Majors grows, the actor is no longer starring in all these different movies and ad campaigns. It says here that Jonathan Majors has been dropped from a slew of projects we hear on good authority, including Protagonist Pictures' feature adaptation of the Walter Mosley novel, The Man in My Basement, an ad campaign for the Texas Rangers, the MLB Major League Baseball team, as well as an unannounced fifth season's Otis Redding biopic, which the actor was supposed to headline. It says here that Majors was set to star and executive produce The Man in My Basement under his production company. But a replacement for Majors is already underway. They're already recasting. Following Majors' arrest, the Texas Rangers had to pivot away from Majors in their 2023 season and ad campaign. And by the way, Majors grew up in Dallas, Texas. And then it also says Majors was kicking the tires of the 5th season project early in the works, entitled Otis and Zelma, which has the full support of Otis Redding's estate. But Majors is no longer under consideration for the film. Again, he's still okay with Marvel so far. And also, it says that Majors is also currently set to re-team with Spike Lee on Amazon Studios' The Understudy, and to play Dennis Rodman in Lionsgate's 48 Hours in Vegas. So he hasn't lost everything, but there is a domino effect happening, and people are kind of sort of moving away, right? The picture's not getting any better. It sucks because, in my opinion, I would sit here and think to myself, like, well, wouldn't you want to wait and see? Because when you sit here and, like, we haven't even gone to court yet, we don't know what's going to happen. But a lot of these companies and studios are like, nah, we're good. We're going to move forward. And he's losing a lot of ads and a lot of ad campaigns, right? So that's a lot of money. It's hurting his pockets. So he's lost his team. He's losing these projects. And there was one thing I told y'all in my video when I was doing the breakdown that could only get worse. Because when the Jonathan Majors stuff was happening, at that time, we also had mention from 2 directors, right? From Broadway plays or whatever. And these 2 directors was like, yo, I know people who know Jonathan Majors or who dated him or whatever. And these people are saying that Jonathan Majors is trash. These people are saying he is abusive. They're saying that he is problematic. They're like, yo, thank goodness his behavior can come to a stop. Now, I told y'all that I did not pay too much attention to that because it was hearsay. These are people that say, I know somebody who knows somebody who is, da 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 da. These were not first-hand accounts. And because of that, it is what it is. And none of these things that they were saying, as a matter of fact, one of these directors that said this acknowledged that he was not talking about anything physical. He was like, no, none of the abuse I talked about. It wasn't like Jonathan Majors was going upside people's heads. It was more psychological, emotional abuse, and unprofessionalism. And again, to me, I'm like, okay, all of that stuff could be true, but it's not illegal to be a jerk. Maybe Jonathan Majors is a jerk. I don't know him personally, but maybe the people that do know that maybe he is a jerk. I don't know. Maybe he is terrible to work with. I don't know. But none of that is illegal. But nevertheless, the mere fact that, these directors were even saying this stuff about him, again, he's fighting 2 courts, didn't help in the court of public opinion. No, it's not illegal in the legal sense. He ain't do nothing there with their accusations, but it's not helping with the public perception. But even with that, I've told y'all straight up, I was like, look, I don't care about what they're saying because, I believe you, but I'm not going to go beyond taking into consideration, right? When they say, oh, we have to believe the victims, for me, what that means is I'm going to listen to you and I'm going to take it seriously. But at the same time, I'm going to need you to come with something more before we can really pass judgment. Because right now it's just hearsay. So one of the most problematic things that I said, though, was the biggest problem that could come up for Jonathan Majors is if more people stepped up. If the people that you said he messed around or abused or whatever, if they come forward, that will be the bigger issue. And unfortunately, that's what happened. The plot thickens, and unfortunately, more alleged abuse victims stepped up, and they're cooperating with the DA's office. It says here, sources familiar with the matter tell Variety that multiple alleged abuse victims of Jonathan Majors have come forward following his March arrest and are cooperating with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. The prospect of more women waiting in the wings could mark a dramatic turn in the case and comes on the heels of Majors' publicist and management firm cutting ties with the embattled actor earlier this week. And like I said, even like the text messages and stuff that didn't really work out for him, somebody close to the situation said it read like a bad Lifetime movie. They basically look like the text messages from a textbook abused woman. And this is somebody that was working with Jonathan Majors on an upcoming project. Now, before we go on, let me just talk about this a little bit more. This is the nightmare. This is the problem for Jonathan Majors, having more people step up and more people say, yo, he's a problem. Now, a lot of people have jumped to the conclusion. Now, I've said this does not look good. It does not look good, right? You got the fact that he's dropped by his team, and then you got the fact that he's dropped by his management. Then you see he is losing projects, and now you see there are more people working with the DA that are also claiming to be victims. It's not a good look. That's a lot of bad news on your side. Now, I think because we don't know what these victims are victims of. And I think that's the point that you have to think about. That's the point that matters. Victims of what? Did he hit you? Was he violent? Was it just, again, him just being a jerk? Those are valid things that we need to know. Because if these victims are coming forward, it depends on how and what they're coming forward with. If they're coming forward just to back up, yes, and I'm just speculating, I don't know, but if they come up and say to the DA, yeah, he's got anger management issues, he yells, he loses his temper, he's mean, he's this and that. If they go and do that, okay, and again, I am not a legal expert, so please take this with a grain of salt. That sounds more like they are going to be brought in as character witnesses, right? They will come in as support for the DA's case against Jonathan Majors to really be like, yeah, he's a bad guy and he had the potential and capability based off of his character traits to do this stuff that they're accusing him of. So maybe that's what these other victims are there for. On the flip side, they could also be coming to press additional charges. I think if they're coming to press more charges, that will be the biggest problem. And I'll tell you why. The reason why it won't even matter if Jonathan Majors is guilty or not. If he has to deal with, and we don't know how many people there are, but if he has to deal with multiple people pressing multiple charges against him, there's a good chance he's going to have to settle multiple cases. For my football fans out there, just look at Deshaun Watson, okay, in that situation. And what I'm saying, though, is even if all the evidence in the world from Jonathan Majors' attorney comes out and says, you know what, this one lady that started it all, he is completely innocent. And look, the video is better than anything. Oh my God, it shows that he's innocent. He's still going to have to deal with them other accusers. They're going to have to prove their cases. He's going to have to prove the innocence. That's going to be a lot of money going around. That's your name in the headlines negatively. Like that's That could be a career killer. That could be a career killer, even if he settles. And just like I do, in the court of public opinion, settlements, usually people think you still did it. Now, that's not always the case. That's not always the case, because sometimes people will settle in court for financial reasons. So, for example, if someone has 20 different cases or whatever, them 20 different cases, the lawyers on the victim side might be working pro bono. Well, if they work in pro bono, you still got to pay your lawyer, and your lawyer got to face them 20 cases. If it's 5 million, 5 million, 5 million, that's $100 million. Whereas it ain't no cost for the victims. They could do this all day, just like Cap. So now it might be cost prohibitive for you to just sit there and be like, you know what? Let me just settle. I know it's not perfect. I know I'm innocent, but let me just settle. Because if I go and to trial for all of these things, I'm going to have to pay my lawyer more money. And sometimes they either don't have as much money or it's just not worth the battle. And again, if they settle, it's still not a good look. So the fact that these other accusers have come into the picture, it does add more problems for Jonathan Majors. It's definitely not a good situation. And like I said, it depends on what they have to say. Are they just there for character witnesses? If they are, I think then all he has to do is prove himself innocent in this one situation, and it's done. All of their testimony, all of that stuff goes away. You still gonna have that public opinion, but that's a better situation compared to I got to deal with multiple victims and multiple cases. That will be terrible. That would be absolutely terrible. There's more to the story. In this same article that talks about the multiple victims, we get more details as well. We also found out that Disney has an added wrinkle to this alleged victim in the Manhattan incident. They also worked on this year's Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, a film with which Majors was billed. So, in other words, this woman who kicked it all off and who is, the center of this, they worked together. Now, that is definitely a wrinkle because now you talking about another Disney / Marvel employee that Jonathan Majors might have been involved with. This could also be a reason why Marvel / Disney is kind of being like, hold on. Because if they rush to the defense of Jonathan Majors, it's going to be at the expense of this other employee, this other female employee. And if they rush to the defense of her and not him, like, they got two people, they got other components involved. So it's complicated for Marvel now and Disney. On a separate note, Majors is stepping down from the board of the Gotham Film and Media Institute and his work with the Sidney Poitier Initiative, which was created to support emerging filmmakers. So he is stepping down. Here's one other thing. Jonathan Majors is also supported by WME. That's the last, group or firm that is part of his team. That's the last people that are like representing him. So we have an update with that. It says, as of now, WME is still representing Majors. In 2018, the agency created a so-called client advisory committee, which makes a recommendation on whether or not to drop a client accused of impropriety. The committee of some 20 staffers, split evenly among gender lines from cross-section of divisions, evaluates a client's ability amid accusations and considers such factors as if the client has been charged criminally and is facing a civil lawsuit. So again, they evaluate the situation as if they are accused and charged criminally. WME has previously dropped such clients as Brett Ratner, Bryan Singer, and Armie Hammer. The committee has not met yet regarding Majors based on the limited information that is available. Whew. So, and this is, something else. Somebody else said this. I think the truth is everyone is waiting to see what Marvel will do. And this is according to an industry insider familiar with the situation. It doesn't mean everyone is going to do the same thing, but that's what people are looking to. So even that last stand of his team, even that last stand, they have not even met yet about his situation. And the fact that they have met and dropped people, I forget what happened with Brett Ratner, but Bryan Singer, Google Bryan Singer, the guy that did X-Men. He's involved in a lot of stuff, not so good stuff. Army Hammer, the dude that was accused of wanting to eat people, the dude that now is selling timeshares in the Bahamas, they dropped him too. So it looks like they're waiting on more information, which I think is great. Like, I think, again, wait for all the facts to come out and then go ahead and, act accordingly. But that's all he's got going for him right now. Now, with all of that said, we still have a plot twist. And that's new evidence. New evidence has come to light over the last couple days. And a lot of people have been saying, like, yo, when is the lawyer gonna drop the video? When is this gonna happen? Like, what's up? You say you had a witness, you say you had text messages, you say you had video. What's going on? I already told y'all the text messages that they did release, at least just those, were not very compelling. It did not help his case. Now, that does not mean in totality, with all the evidence, that they won't be helpful. I'm just saying the fact that they dropped just that to the public or whatever, it's not helping. But we have new evidence, and this could be a plot twist, right? This could literally change everything if it plays out the way that it is. It could change everything. So let's kind of go over it, because I've seen a couple people go over some things and not really report it accurately. So let's go through it detailed here. Now, Major's attorney has filed evidence with a New York court that appears to show the accuser was uninjured out on the town after fighting and parting ways with the Creed 3 star the night of the alleged incident. In her complaint about the face with an open hand, in the complaint, the victim said that Major struck her about the face with an open hand, causing substantial pain and a laceration behind her ear. So she's saying in the complaint, according to the victim, that that Major slapped her or something with an open hand, and that's what caused some sort of wound behind her ear. Major's attorney said, challenged the assistant district attorney, Kelly Galloway's request for a court date later than May 8th. The attorney presented evidence, and she said had been given to the attorney, to the DA for review. The evidence shows Major's accuser seemingly unharmed in the hours after the two parted company. So, in other words, after Majors and the alleged victim, parted ways, they went their separate ways. The attorney is saying, hey, the alleged victim went out to go party, right? And the other thing the lawyer says, alleges that in the court filing, that after attacking her client and allegedly tearing Majors' clothes between midnight and 1 a.m. on March 25th, the accuser went clubbing, got drunk, sent Mr. Majors angry text messages accusing him of infidelity, sent a suicide note to Mr. Majors, took a bunch of sleeping pills, and then 11 hours later was found alone in a locked bedroom, unconscious on the floor of a closet with a cut behind her ear and a broken finger. And they're saying we have provided irrefutable evidence to the DA that the charges are false. Listen, I'm going to say this. We don't know the whole story, but the way things were reported when this first story happened, it didn't come out with all those details. Okay? Again, we don't have all the facts. I'm just saying this sounds like two different stories now. Because the way it was presented the first time we heard this, they jumped into a cab. She accused him of cheating. She lunged for his phone. And something, I guess some fight happened. They got out the cab, taxi, Uber. Jonathan Majors called the police. She went up to the police, told them that she was hurt. She went to the hospital. Then the police came back and was like, we're going to press charges. That's the way it was presented at first. But now the lawyers are coming in saying like, yo, we got times, dates, text messages, angry text messages. So this is not matching up with how it was initially reported. So again, for a lot of the people that were just going off of how it was going on, reported the first time, this is why we really need to wait on information. And I'm not saying that the lawyer is telling the truth. I'm just saying they're presenting another story. And in any type of situation like this, they're coming with evidence. They're saying, we can show you the timeline of events. We can prove it with text messages. We can prove it with witness testimony, and we can prove it with video. I mean, that's compelling to hear. I mean, you're talking about drugs. You're talking about now Jonathan Majors was the one that was the victim. Like he was the one that was being attacked. He was the one that was being assaulted. You're talking about a person that was, going to his house or going to his apartment and, being all up in his bed and all this stuff. Like it's kind of an issue here, right? So let's keep going because there's more. The lawyer goes on to say, stills were taken from security footage, camera footage, and submitted to the court to appear to show the accuser at the bar between 1:55 and 3:06. So this is after supposedly they met or they parted ways. The security stills appear to show the accuser at the bar with two uninjured hands as she sorts through the credit cards and signs a receipt. The lawyer goes on to say she told the court that the driver of the car where the two allegedly fought will testify that it was the accuser that attacked Majors that night. And they also said that this happened between midnight and 1 a.m. Okay, so allegedly, whatever fight happened between midnight and 1 a.m., according to this lawyer. But they also saw the clubbing and the other stuff between 1:55 and 3:06 a.m. Man, they got that down to the minute. According to the lawyer, Majors jumped out of the car and ran away, witnessed by the driver and three people standing in the street. Then he hailed a taxi and went to a hotel. The letter says he didn't see the accuser again until after 11 a.m. when he returned home and called a handyman to unlock his bedroom door. Once inside, the letter says Majors found the woman unconscious on the floor of a closet. This, like I said, this is getting thick. It's getting very, very interesting. Now I know some of y'all want to know more, and we do have a couple more. We got images, we got pictures now. So here's what happened, and that's why I said it's good to get more information before jumping on any side of the argument. But we got some pictures now. So Jonathan Majors in the video, the witness proves I didn't strike my ex-girlfriend. She went clubbing after the incident. Now let me just actually let's go through it. I'll go through it first. According to the documents obtained by TMZ, okay, so TMZ got their hands on stuff. The driver saw the woman assault Majors around 1 a.m. while she was attempting to steal his phone. Furthermore, Majors says that the driver will, the attorney says that the driver will testify that he never struck the alleged victim in any way at any time or even raised his voice. Majors and his attorney also say the driver saw her hitting, scratching, and attacking Jonathan, and that Jonathan asked the driver to stop the car so he could escape her attack, which he did. The woman allegedly told police that she suffered a broken finger and a laceration behind her ear during the altercation. And this is the part that I've already seen people taking out of context, because some people have said, oh, well, just because she went to party, that's not a bad thing. That's not what the case has said, right? Because I've seen people talking online trying to make it seem as though Jonathan Majors' lawyer was trying to paint this victim, in a bad light by saying, well, you say that you got abused, but then you went out clubbing. That's not what's being said. What the lawyer is trying to prove in this situation is saying that, look, the victim said that she had a broken finger. That's what the lawyer's saying. The lawyer's saying, look at what she said. The victim said she had a broken finger on her right hand. Okay, well, if you have a broken finger, according to this to Major's lawyer, how are you able to do this stuff with your right hand? You over there getting drinks. You over there partying and clubbing. You over here swiping your credit card. What's going on with your hand that supposedly was injured? That is what the lawyer is saying. The lawyer is not saying that just because she went clubbing, therefore she was not abused. That's not what she was saying. That's not, I know people only read the headlines and just go off of that. What she's saying is, if the victim was correct about having a broken finger, how are you doing all this stuff in the club? How are you popping bottles? How are you swiping car? How are you doing this with a broken finger? I mean, if my hand is broke, I can't be like, oh, here go my jam. Do. I can't do that if my hand is broke. Now, you can still go clubbing. You can still go partying. You can still go do all that other stuff. But if you say your hand was broke because of that situation and people see you out here otherwise, that compromises the other story. Now, again, this is the case that Jonathan Majors' lawyer is making, okay? Because at the end of the day, whenever it's a he said, she said type of thing, it's up to whoever to prove it. You got to support your case, right? So, because of this broken finger that apparently the lawyers are saying is not so broken, Major's court case filings include screenshots of security video showing the woman freely using her right hand, which she claimed Majors had injured. In the videos, they say she clearly pushes her hair behind her right ear, reaches into her bag several times, sorts through credit cards, handles phones, holds a menu, and easily holds a glass of champagne. They say she was seen partying pretty hard, throwing back shots and champagne with friends without any visible sign of injury. When her night out at the club was over, they claimed she showed up at Major's home at 3:23 a.m., entered his apartment, and called him 32 times and sent several angry, jealous text messages. Majors was not home when she got there. Goes on to say They say Majors got home at 11:13 a.m. and found her unconscious and half naked on the floor on his walk-in closet. He also discovered she allegedly threw up in his bed and told him she had taken a few sleeping tablets. Majors then called 911 and claimed when paramedics arrived, the woman repeatedly told them, "I don't know," when they asked her what happened to her. Now, once again, the lawyer in this case, now don't get me wrong, the lawyer dropping them text messages did not help. But these are things that the lawyer has issued to the district attorney. So what TMZ is telling us right now, these are all the things in the court documents. So the lawyer has basically said, here's a timeline of everything that happened. Here's how it happened, when it happened, why it happened, and this is how we can support and corroborate that it happened. So when we talked about the text messages, the new evidence that they're talking about is there are more evidence. There's more texts. And if there are more texts, what does that mean? There are timestamps. And in the text messages that were revealed, one of the things that was kind of concerning was she had mentioned that she had collapsed. Now, we didn't know when she collapsed. We didn't know why she collapsed. We didn't know how she collapsed. But that was the reason why Jonathan Majors, called 911. But according to all of this, Jonathan Majors wasn't even around when she collapsed, supposedly. So, again, we're getting a lot of information filled in based off of what we heard before to where we are now. This is looking like, at least from the lawyer side of things, a completely different situation. And we see here, that's her, I'm assuming with the paramedics. And it gets even worse. In the document, Major's lawyer claims body cam footage shows police interviewing the woman and clearly coaching her to say that Majors grabbed her by the throat. Release the body cam footage. The police were coaching her. And if all the other stuff was true, what did we just read? What did I just read? Hold on. Look at this once again. Majors called 911 and claimed when the paramedics arrived, the woman repeatedly told them, "I don't know," when asked what happened to her. Now, again, I'm not casting no judgment. Maybe she is a victim of abuse. I don't know. Maybe she was afraid. Maybe she didn't want to tell on Jonathan. I get that because that could happen legitimately to abuse victims. But if it's also true that you were under the influence of these sleeping drugs or whatever, maybe she wasn't in her right state of mind. I don't know. But if she's collapsing, she's throwing up, she's drunk, she might have drugs in the system. And then if it is true that the police were coaxing her into saying that Jonathan Majors did something that maybe he didn't, because the police don't know. When the police show up, they don't know what happened before. The police can only go off of what they see and what they are told. If they see wounds on her neck, on her ear, whatever, if they see that, they're going to be like, yo, this looked like domestic violence to me. I can't blame them. If I walk in and I see somebody have a black eye and they pass it, I'm gonna be like, yo, something definitely happened here. Might not be what I think it is, but I'm going to have enough reason to think this is an issue. So now, again, if what the lawyer's saying true, she was drunk, she had drugs in the system, she was already sick, whatever. If those things are true, And if the police are dealing with a confession that was under the influence, again, because of New York law, they had to arrest somebody. They had to, that's just the way the law is. They had to arrest somebody in that situation because the way it looked and probably how it sounded, it looked like textbook domestic violence. But they said there was body cam footage. I need to see that footage. The taxi cab or the Uber, whoever, that footage, because if they parted ways after the taxi, and like if you didn't have a broken hand, if you didn't have wounds in the taxi, and if y'all parted ways and he didn't see you, he checked in somewhere. I'm sure there's a timestamp where he did, checked in somewhere else. If he did not do anything in that time, and if witnesses corroborate that, and for that 3-hour gap, 2-3 hour gap, you were out clubbing. Who knows what was happening when you was clubbing? And then on top of that, Jonathan Majors didn't see you until 11 o'clock the next day, or like later that day. So I'm just saying, this can go in a lot of different ways. It sounds like, according to the attorney, and the attorney's been saying this from the very beginning, Jonathan Majors didn't touch nobody. Jonathan Majors didn't hit nobody. Jonathan Majors is actually the victim. And yeah, like, we got video, we got witnesses, we got text messages, we got timestamps, we got videos and screenshots. So far, again, just going off of what we've seen, that looks pretty compelling. I'm not going to dismiss the possibility that maybe he did it. I'm not going to dismiss it, but I'm also not going to dismiss a lot of this evidence that this lawyer has put forward too. That's a lot of stuff that fills in a lot of gaps that we didn't have. Now, I still am reserving judgment because I still believe there's still more to the story that we don't know. But I do think that if he truly did not touch her in the cab, and if he does, and if the body cam footage from the police, which I'm sure they're going to have to release that, and I want to hear these witness testimonies, I think the more we hear these things, and if they hold up, at that point, it is going to be on the burden of proof is going to have to be on the DA, because the lawyer's already given all of this stuff. So we're only reading about what TMZ saw from the documents that the lawyers already gave to the DA. So what does that mean? The DA, now that they got all this evidence, now that they got this witness testimony, now that they know all the cards that the DA, that Major's witness lawyer, they know all the cards that the other side is going to play. The DA gonna be like, okay, let me look at my cards now. All right, I got past abuse victims. Now, again, we don't know what they're gonna say or not. We got the victim's testimony, even though she kind of recanted, but again, that doesn't really matter. Maybe there are hospital records, but at the end of the day, the DA is gonna have to figure out, does my hand of evidence that is going to accuse Jonathan Majors of domestic violence, is my hand stronger than this full house, than this pair of aces, than this, I don't know, 4 of a kind that the lawyer has laid down? Do I have a royal flush? I don't know. But, whoo, guys, this needs to be a movie. I'm just saying, like, this could be a movie, because where this goes, nobody knows. But at the same time, my goodness, it's because again, we don't know what the DA's got. We don't know what the other victims have said. I told you, it's gonna get worse if they start filing multiple charges. Because even if you beat one case, now you got more cases to beat. That's never a good look. But for this isolated incident, at least Jonathan Majors, listen, his lawyer's doing work. Some of y'all was giving that lawyer some crap, okay? I didn't want to say nothing, but some of y'all was giving that lawyer some crap, saying that the lawyer was messing him up, was not doing the right move. Listen, the lawyer got, it looked like the lawyer got everything in line. Now, again, I don't know if it's true. I don't know. But in terms of a case, in case of the timestamps, the evidence, the witnesses, the text messages, the videos, it sounds like a lot. Now, the question now is, what happens after this? I don't know. I mean, if Jonathan Majors is found guilty, if the evidence proves to be overwhelming, I'm going to just have to be like, you know what? If you did the crime, bro, you got to do the time. Like, I don't care how much of a fan I am of yours. Right is right, wrong is wrong. We just have to go with justice, right? However, if the man is innocent, if the evidence proves his innocence, I'm gonna need every single one of them projects, all them ads, all them everything to come back and put this man back in the good graces. Because that will not be fair. And if he is proven innocent here, I'm gonna need nobody to sit here and drag him like who was it? Nate Parker. That's not cool. Because if a court, which has way more information than we have, by the way, as the public, if a court can find someone innocent, and I'm not talking about like some technicality. I'm not talking, because like R. Kelly was found innocent, but we knew he wasn't innocent, right? He was innocent because someone just didn't show up to testify against him. So I'm not talking about innocent like that. I'm talking about like if there's irrefutable proof that somebody did not do something, then I'm going to need you to keep the same energy that you had beforehand. Texas Rangers, y'all go put that ad back on. Army, go put that man back on. Any of those other movies that haven't moved on to recap, go get that man and give him his due right back. If he's proven completely innocent. Because we cannot live in a society where just being accused of something is going to give you the taint of being guilty, especially when you've already proven your innocence. That's not cool. That's not okay. And I'll tell you why that's not okay, because you wouldn't want to be judged that way. You would never want someone to just come out of nowhere, make a crazy accusation about you, and when even though you are 115 million% innocent, you would not want people to still keep dragging you for that thing that wasn't true in the first place. You would not want that. And we should not cultivate a society like that. Now, I'm not saying that we need to automatically give and assume everybody's perfect. I'm just saying we have to go with what we know and we have to judge with what we have. Because for all we know, I don't know. Somebody could be a straight up axe murderer in their basement. I don't know that. Until we get the evidence to say otherwise, I'm going to judge people by what they say and what they do and what evidence is presented in front of us. Not going to speculate. I'm not going to be like, he was innocent this time, but what if he wasn't innocent? I mean, okay, look, if there are more accusations, come forward. Let's do it. Let justice serve. But that justice being served has to go both ways. If you're going to have that energy to prosecute somebody because they did something wrong, you better have that same energy to get justice to go the other way and defend them if they're proven innocent. It has to go both ways, or else we don't have true justice. End of the day, I hope justice is served, whether it's for the victim or whether it's for Jonathan Majors. I hope justice is served, and that's all we need. That's all we need. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for today. Thank you so much. Please let me know what you think about the Jonathan Majors situation. Feel free to go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. And we will get into that a little bit more until this finally resolves.